Smitty TV here, coming at you with a different kind of video. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about Aghanim's Labyrinth. Now, this game, this new TI Battle Pass, is insane. It's my favorite custom game of all the TIs, and I just want to be talking about you about it, how to get good at it, how to win at it. Because next week is when the leaderboards come out, and we can start earning prizes like Baby Roshan, the Arcanas, all that shaz, all that jazz. And I really want to sort of talk about kind of the meta game of it and understanding the best strategies for it going forward, really, and just some sort of tips and tricks to sort of try and help you going forward with it. Because I've personally fallen in love with this game. I love it, and I want to pass on some of the tips and tricks that I've learned playing it kind of all day, every day, ever since it's kind of come out. Obviously, these are the challenges, and these are some of the rewards going out. But without further ado, guys, I'll try and give you like a basic overview of it, and then I might be doing some more videos in the future about each individual level, because I personally think it's sick and awesome. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So guys, starting off with, I'm going to be talking about the draft. So if you don't know, Aghanim's Labyrinth is kind of a 4-player game, and these are the only heroes that are allowed to be played in the Labyrinth. Mars, Tusk, Wyvern, Weaver, Ursa, Witch Doctor, Viper, Disruptor, Snapfire, Omni Knight, Magnus, and Sniper. Now, for me, I'm going to be talking about kind of breaking down quickly about kind of each role that they fulfill. So first off, Mars, he is the kind of profound and most strongest kind of frontliner or tank. Like in the Labyrinth, there's a lot of kind of heroes, bosses, levels that require kind of someone to sort of tank and kind of frontline. And Mars is just the best because of his bulwark, because it has that kind of passive inbuilt tank ability, and so because of that, he is my S tier kind of hero for that kind of role. Tusk, Magnus, and Omni Knight can also kind of fulfill that roles because they're all strength heroes, but in my opinion, Mars does it the best. Tusk is decent in some areas. He has obviously movement abilities with his snowball, and some kind of trapping abilities with his ice shards, and obviously the punch and the tag team can be really useful in bursting down bosses. Magnus is good because of there's the cleave predominantly, but the skewer is nice to get out of kind of sticky situations that can arise. Omni Knight is an interesting one because it also fulfills another kind of sub role that I think is really important to have in the kind of the comp of the 4-man team in the Aghanim's Labyrinth. But Omni Knight can kind of fulfill that role of kind of frontliner as well. He's quite tanky, obviously he can heal himself, but also has the purifying grace, not purifying grace, the heavenly grace, excuse me, that gives him kind of tank ability because it gives him strength as well as physical resistance, which is different than the actual spells. But for the most part, all these heroes have similar abilities that they do in Dota, but they also apply in the Labyrinth as well. But talking of Omni Knight, there's another sub-role that I want to talk about that involve these 3 heroes, Omni Knight, Wyvern, and Witch Doctor. These are the only 3 heroes, really, that can heal your teammates. There's a few talents, like Disruptor, Kinetic Field can also heal if he gets a talent for it, but these are the main 3 healers. So generally speaking, you want to have 1 frontliner, 1 healer, and then I'll talk about the other sub-roles later. So Omni Knight obviously has his own heal, his purification, but he has a talent that allows his heavenly grace to also act as a heal, and also he has his guardian angel as well. Wyvern can heal with cold embrace, and Witch Doctor can eventually naturally heal with voodoo restoration. Now, in my opinion, Omni Knight is the S tier of the healers because he has 2, if not 3, kind of forms of healing. But unlike Wyvern and Witch Doctor that require on positioning, Omni Knight can always heal an individual target. Wyvern does have a heal, but because of Cold Embrace freezes the target in a position, that can actually end up hurting the enemy or the ally that you heal because they stick in place. So some levels have dots on specific locations, and if that do magic damage, and if you heal them, they stay in it and they can die, and it can cause a lot of problems. Plus, the Witness Curse doesn't offer all that much, particularly in the boss levels. So really, it's just the Splinter Blast and the Arctic Burn. So really, I think Wyvern is the weakest out of all the healers, and then it goes Witch Doctor, and then you have the Omni Knight being the S tier. The Witch Doctor's heal is good with Voodoo Restoration, but it requires you to be up close to the target. So if you want to heal a melee target, you have to walk into melee range, which can be really bad because The Aghanim's Labyrinth is all about positioning. So I think in that respect, Omni Knight is the best because he's tanky. He fulfills that role, and then it goes Witch Doctor, and then it goes Wyvern, and then I guess it goes Disruptor because he has a talent, but it can be RNG whether you get that talent or not. And then you get on to really the DPS. Disruptor, Weaver, Ursa, Viper, Snapfire, and Sniper. Now, in my opinion, Weaver and Sniper are completely the best. And I think Weaver is beyond the just best DPS for a few reasons. I'll talk about Sniper first, and then I'll explain why Weaver is better than Sniper. So I think in general, the Labyrinth favors range DPS over melee because there's so much melee damage that happens in the Labyrinth that range just kind of can get away from a lot of the damage. Obviously, there's some range disadvantages being ranged, so some of the targeted spells are more likely to be thrown onto range than melees, but generally speaking, I think range DPS is preferred. And because Sniper has crazy range, because of obviously his take aim, he is a very strong right clicker, plus his agility as well, obviously, so he scales very nicely. However, I think Weaver is the best for that pure right click build role because particularly in the end boss being Aghanim, but there's a few other levels as well, mobility is king, which I'll talk about as well later going into other aspects. And obviously Weaver has complete mobility with his Sakuchi, but also has a get out of jail card with the time lapse. And the Assassinate is okay in the early to mid levels, but predominantly you're focusing on right clicks, so it's kind of a spell wasted. Whereas for Weaver, every spell is fantastic all stages of the game. The Swarm is great for physical damage, plus it has some nice talents as well. Sakuchi for the mobility. Germinate attack is fantastic because there's some great talents in there as well, and you can attack like a madman. And time lapse always gives you that get out of jail free card. So in general, I think Weaver is without a doubt a great must-have in the comp. Disruptor is on the face of things kind of one of the worst heroes in the game because he has two abilities that do no damage, being the Glimpse and the Kinetic Field, but actually some of his talents are some of the best in the game. He has a really strong 4% heal with Kinetic Field inside it. That helps out a lot of the melees and some of the frontliners for you. The Glimpse can come in clutch against some of the boss levels and some of the real chieftains, they call it, which is kind of the strong units per level that you can glimpse back and help out. And obviously the Static Storm being silences stops a lot of work as well, plus the Thunderstrike is a great AoE. So he's actually better than you might imagine. Ursa is good because obviously, for the boss levels especially, any kind of single target focus can be really, really useful, and the Fury Swipes allows you for that. However, being a melee DPS, he does kind of suffer a little bit because of that. But if paired with Magnus, can do a lot of work in general. Viper is kind of good. He's kind of that pseudo between magic damage and physical damage. And is very tanky as well, so it kind of acts as a pseudo frontliner because of his corrosive skin. But he does suffer with mana a lot, which can be a big problem. That he relies a lot on mana to do damage, but you can be mana starved a lot. Snapfire is a great DPS, focuses a lot on obviously magic, has some fantastic AoE. So if you paired with a hero like Ursa, has great single target, Snapfire can kind of alleviate a lot of the AoE struggles that Ursa does have. So those are the heroes, in my opinion, the best comp, and I think the comp we will see for the leaderboards, I think will be Mars for the frontliner. Then it will be Omni Knight because I think he's the best healer, paired with Weaver, and then I think really the fourth one can be a majority of things. I think Disruptor has some value, so does Snapfire, but if you want to run just pure DPS, I think Omni, Mars, Weaver, and Sniper are your go-tos for your comp altogether. So those are the heroes I wanted to talk about. Now I'll talk about in-game kind of specifics in general. So first off, there's a few kind of tips and tricks that are important to note. So firstly, I think to start off with, you want to be buying boots. You start with 500 gold, and I mentioned about how movement speed is really king in this game. It kind of alleviates a lot of the damage you will be dealt because there are a lot of skill shots, so you need to dodge it with movement speed. So having items like drums, windlace, boots early on is definitely something to kind of keep in mind to help you with the labyrinth. Another thing that I think is really important is that in each room there will be crates, and in those crates are normally health and mana regen. potions, and it's important really not to just hit them because they're there, and there's something to click on, but really to save those crates, particularly for the harder levels and for the boss levels, because if you um, open the crates by attacking them, and then you're in some ways wasting the health potions and the mana potions that drop from it that are instant mana and instant health. So going into a room and using the crates and opening them when you need to, and normally it's the ranged heroes jobs to do it because they can easily attack them and open it up, and then normally it's the melees to pick up the health potions that are dropped from it. The bottle is really important as well, and it's important to note that you get one bottle charge per level or per room that you clear. So it's important to really use at least one bottle charge per room, so that you always have the next room to refill it to have a full bottle. And if you can, obviously use and try predominantly use the bottle charges for the boss rooms, because the boss rooms are most normally the hardest rooms to clear. But that being said, obviously the bottle charge goes through damage. So if you're getting low or you need it for mana, just using the bottle charges, even if you're under attack, because it will regen you through any kind of damage you take. And also you can bottle allies as well, so you can use your bottle onto someone else to heal them, to give them mana, etc, etc, etc. As for the choices you use, so obviously each level you get a choice, whether it has a gold kind of coin above it, it has a little chest or a crate, or it has the heart. So the chest or the crate drops predominantly neutral items. The gold just gives you lots of gold at the end of the level, and then the heart gives you a life. Now you have maximum 3 lives. You can't stock any more than 3, but when you get to 0, obviously you die and you can't regen, or you can't respawn in that level. But if your teammate clears the room, you will then respawn onto the next level. Now, in my opinion, the hearts are probably the most important because of the value they offer. On a purely monetary level, um, each life costs about 1,000 gold. So if you want to buy lives, you can only buy it every, I think, 6 levels from the bristleback merchant, and it costs you 1,000 gold. So always having 3 lives stocked is really important, and a lot of those levels are kind of free gimmicks to give you the life. And then I think the second best is the neutral and the chest levels, because the neutral items are really strong, and then the default level is the money. Now, obviously, depending on your circumstances, will be the room you choose. But my default normally is, if I don't have full lives, is the life, because of the offer they provide, the value they provide. Obviously, then if I already have a lot of neutral items, or if I have good tiers, then I'll go for the gold, or so like and so forth. But keep in mind that you can stockpile a lot of neutral items. There isn't a cap of like 4, which is in the game of regular Dota. You can stockpile them, but at the same time, you don't want to be stockpiling tier 1 or tier 2, because after a while, there's disvalue into just going for gold. But say if you've had tier 1 or tier 2 neutral items for a while, and perhaps going for the crate or the neutral item level will give you the tier 3 or the tier 4 neutral items. Then let's talk about the elite levels. The elite levels are the ones that glow red on, whether it be the gold coin or the heart or the neutral item chest. And all the red level does is give you ×2 rewards for whatever path or map you choose, but they are significantly harder. And in my experience, obviously the end goal is to defeat Aghanim and to do it as fast as possible and as successfully as possible, so losing the least amount of lives. And in my opinion, the elite levels just aren't worth it. Obviously, level 1 Aghanims on the apprentice is very easy, but when you start playing the magician and the sorcerer and the grand magus, the elite levels are almost impossible not to fail on, or at least lose a couple of lives. But depending again on the scenario, like say if you're really desperate for lives, maybe it's worth risking for it. But keep in mind that also you can spot the level you're going to be facing, and I'll make that another level, another video, excuse me, where I will break down each room and how to defeat it as successfully as possible. But yeah, those are the kind of the main tips and tricks. Hopefully that was able to give you some kind of insight before you start grinding it. But obviously, please guys, if you've got any tips and tricks that I've missed in this video, please leave a comment down below, because I'm desperate to try and get better at this game. It's personally a favorite of mine. I know obviously we had auto battler, the chess, which is really fun, but for me this is a fantastic game. And one thing I forgot to mention that I'm glad I've just remembered now is talking about the talent trees that you get from the shards. So already I've maxed out all the fragments I get. So put simply, each week you get 5 days or so to get 1800 fragments, and those 1800 fragments can be spent in this talent tree here. And basically they give you kind of different bonuses that will be used and activated every time you play Aghanim's Labyrinth. So they're kind of like almost pay to win, but in the Labyrinth. Now, they are outside of the first one, which gives you an extra bottle charge. Then you can kind of start specializing into strength, agility, or intelligence. So depending on what hero you play, and in this case I've spec'd all of my talents into strength, which I think is ideal really, because then you can kind of get down further into the talent tree faster, than kind of spreading out your talents. But you can do that obviously if you're just playing for fun. But for me, I'm looking for a competitive edge, and I've maxed out my strength. So in this case, I can play Omni Knight, I can play Mars, I can even play Snapfire, because of their attributes that they give. And depending on they just give different things. So 10 health, more level, extra strength per the book, different strength things, and just different. I won't go through each one, but yeah. And generally speaking, like what I've done, I have a group of 4 mates that we want to. This being one of my mates actually wants to play right now with me. Wants to kind of specialize into it. So for me, my role is the frontliner, so I'm always going to be playing either the Omni Knight or the Mars, and as a result I'm specking into the strength talents. But maybe you'll be the healer or the range DPS, and that will be the agility or the intelligence route. So keep that in mind, guys. This will definitely help and help you through the labyrinth. But without that, guys, that's all I want to talk about. And hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe, leave all that shebang. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.